Welcome to the Mindset Coach podcast, brought to you by the Mindset Coach Academy. I'm Lara Young, your host and Master Certified Coach. Whether you're a seasoned coach or just starting your coaching career, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things mindset, coaching, and personal development. Each week, we bring you expert insights, practical strategies, and inspirational stories to help you become the best coach you can be. Our guests range from leading industry professionals to successful mindset coaches who share their secrets for creating lasting change. Plus, I'll be answering your burning questions and sharing tips from our ICF and multi-accredited Mindset Coach Certification program. So, if you're ready to elevate your coaching game, stay tuned and let's dive into today's episode. If you've been around the coaching industry for any length of time, you'll have heard lots of different labels: life coach, business coach, executive coach, leadership coach, career coach, health coach, relationship coach, and of course, mindset coach. And sometimes I think we can get a little bit too caught up in trying to decide which box we belong in. But I want to offer a slightly different perspective today, because I don't really see mindset coaching as simply another niche sitting alongside life coaching, business coaching, or leadership coaching. I see mindset as the foundation underneath all coaching. Regardless of what someone comes to coaching for, at some point, we're going to encounter the way they think, we're going to encounter what they believe, we're going to encounter the meaning they've attached to their experiences, we're going to encounter their expectations, their internal dialogue, their emotional responses, their identity, and the patterns they've developed over time. And all of these things influence what they do next. So today, I want to explore the difference between life coaching and mindset coaching, but also challenge the idea that they are necessarily competing approaches. Because I think understanding mindset makes you a better coach, whatever coaching you ultimately choose to specialize in. So what is life coaching? Life coaching is a very broad term. Someone might work with a life coach because they feel stuck in their career. They might want greater confidence. They might be navigating a relationship or a major life transition. They might want more balance, clearer goals, healthier habits, or a greater sense of direction. And at its best, life coaching can be incredibly valuable. A coach helps the client clarify where they are now, decide where they want to go, and explore what needs to happen to close that gap. There may be goal setting, there may be values work, decision making, accountability, exploration of options, creating action plans. And sometimes that's exactly what the client needs. Not every coaching conversation needs to become a deep exploration of someone's past or beliefs. Sometimes the client needs clarity, perspective, and a good thinking partner. But this is where things get interesting, because what happens when the client knows exactly what they need to do and still doesn't do it? You've probably heard clients say things like, "I know what I should do, but I keep sabotaging myself." Or, "I know I need to put myself out there, but something stops me. I've set this goal 3 times and I never follow through. I know logically that I'm capable, but I don't feel capable." And at that point, simply creating another action plan probably isn't going to solve the problem, because the problem isn't necessarily the plan. The problem may be the mindset underneath it. And this is where mindset coaching becomes so important. Mindset coaching looks at the internal patterns that influence behavior. That includes our beliefs, our identity, our self-talk, the assumptions we make, the meanings we give things, our emotional associations and landscape, and the patterns of thinking and behavior that have often become automatic over time. So rather than only asking, "What do you want to do?" we may also become curious about what is getting in the way of doing it. What do you believe would happen if you did? What are you making this mean? What are you believing about yourself here? What patterns keep repeating? And sometimes that is where the real work is, because human beings rarely struggle simply because we don't know what to do. We've got information everywhere. Most of us know we should exercise. We know we should have that difficult conversation. We know we should send the proposal. We know we should stop procrastinating. We know we should put ourselves forward for the opportunity. Knowledge is often not the issue. The issue is that somewhere inside the system, there's a competing belief, emotion, expectation, or pattern. Consciously, the client says, I want this, but another part of them may be saying, this isn't safe, I'm going to fail. People will judge me. I'm not ready. I don't deserve it. If I become successful, something else will change. And if we only coach the conscious goal, we can miss what is actually driving the behaviour. This is why I believe that mindset is foundational to all coaching. Whether you're a business coach, a leadership coach, a health coach, executive coach, or life coach, your client brings their mindset into the room. They don't leave it at the door because they've booked a business coaching session. A business owner struggling with visibility may actually be dealing with a fear of judgment. A leader struggling to delegate may be carrying a belief that everything has to be done perfectly. A client who constantly changes goals may have an underlying fear of committing to the wrong thing. Someone trying to improve their health may understand exactly what they need to do, but keep returning to a deeply embedded behavioural pattern. So the presenting issue and the underlying issue are not always the same thing, and that distinction matters enormously for coaches. Because if we only coach on the presenting problem, we can end up helping clients manage symptoms rather than creating meaningful change. But remember, mindset coaching is not just positive thinking. This is another distinction I think is really important. The term mindset has become so widely used that it can sometimes sound like, just think positively, change your thoughts, believe in yourself. And that isn't what I mean by mindset coaching. I've done a previous episode on what is mindset all the way back in series 1. And if you'd like to hear what mindset really is, then please do tune in. You know, changing deeply embedded patterns requires more sophistication than simply replacing a negative thought with a positive one. If someone has spent 20 years reinforcing a belief that they aren't good enough, telling them to repeat, I am enough in the mirror probably isn't going to create sustainable transformation. We need to understand how beliefs are formed, how language influences experience, how emotion becomes attached to memories, how habits are reinforced, how identity influences behaviour, how the brain predicts and interprets experience. And more importantly, we need to understand the boundaries of coaching, because the deeper we work, the more important our training becomes. A coach needs to know when coaching is appropriate or when another professional may be required, and how to work ethically without straying into areas that they're not qualified to practice in. So which creates better results, life coaching or mindset coaching? I actually think that's the wrong question, because clients don't arrive neatly categorized. Someone might come to coaching because they want to change careers. Initially, they need clarity. What do they want? What matters to them? What are their options? That's coaching. Then suddenly you discover they've been talking about changing careers for 5 years, but never take the first step. Now we may need to explore what's underneath that. Perhaps they believe leaving their secure career would make them irresponsible. Perhaps their identity has become deeply attached to their professional status. Perhaps they're terrified of disappointing their family. And now we're working with mindset, because once that shifts, we may go back to strategy. What's the first step? Who do you need to speak to? What will you do this week? That movement between awareness, mindset, and action is where coaching becomes incredibly powerful. And I think the best coaches develop the ability to recognize the level they're working at. Powerful questions matter, but they aren't always enough. One of the things I talk about a lot in our training is that great coaching is not simply about having a longer list of clever questions. Yes, questions are enormously important for evoking awareness and helping your clients to have insights. Listening is enormously important. Presence is enormously important. But sometimes a coach can ask question after question, and the client keeps circling the same issue. They have the insight. They understand the problem. They can explain exactly why they behave the way they do, and yet nothing changes. Insight and transformation are not the same thing. Sometimes the client needs to experience something differently, not simply understand it intellectually. And this is where having a broader toolkit becomes useful. Not because we want to do things to clients, and certainly not because the coach should decide what the client needs, but because we can recognize when the conversation needs to move beyond simply analyzing the situation. So if you're currently deciding whether to become a life coach or a mindset coach, I wouldn't become overly attached to the label. Instead, ask yourself, what kind of change do I want to help people create? What kind of clients do I want to work with? And how deeply do I want to understand the mechanisms behind human behaviour and change? You may ultimately decide to market yourself as a leadership coach, a business coach, a career coach, a confidence coach, a relationship coach. And that can be useful because clients often search for the problem they want solved. But underneath your specialism, your understanding of mindset can dramatically improve the quality of your coaching. That is the distinction I want coaches to understand. Your niche tells people where you help them. Your coaching skills determine how you help them. And your understanding of mindset helps you to recognize what may actually be driving the issue underneath the surface. And there's one important caveat here. Learning mindset techniques does not replace learning how to coach. And this is something I feel really strongly about. You can learn NLP, you can learn hypnosis, you can learn neuroscience, you can learn belief change processes. You can learn all sorts of transformational methodologies. But if you can't listen deeply, stay curious, contract well, remain client-led, manage boundaries and hold an ethical coaching conversation, you can very quickly become technique-driven. You start looking for opportunities to use your favorite tool rather than listening to what the client actually needs. And that's not good coaching. So I believe that coaches need both. They need the professional coaching foundation, and then they can build a broader understanding of mindset and transformational change on top of it. That combination is incredibly powerful. And it's also one of the reasons why we built the Mindset Coach Academy in the way that we did. I didn't want coaches simply collecting a long list of techniques, and I didn't want them simply learning coaching models without understanding what happens when a client keeps hitting the same internal pattern. I wanted coaches to understand conscious coaching, subconscious patterns, and the deeper mechanisms behind behaviour change, while still working ethically and professionally. So if we come back to the original question, what is the difference between life coaching and mindset coaching? Life coaching is often described by the area of change, and mindset coaching is more about the level at which change is happening. And that's why I don't really see them as opposites. You can be a life coach who understands mindset. You can be a leadership coach who understands mindset, a business coach who understands mindset, an executive coach who understands mindset. In fact, I would argue that understanding mindset makes you more effective in almost every coaching niche. Because ultimately, whatever goal your client brings into the room, there is a human being attached to that goal. And human beings bring beliefs, they bring emotions, they bring identity, habits, previous experiences, expectations, fears, strengths. And they bring deeply established ways of seeing themselves and the world around them. And that's mindset. And that's why I believe mindset coaching is not simply another category of coaching. It's one of the foundations of understanding how people change. So, rather than asking, should I become a life coach or a mindset coach, perhaps the better question is, how well do I understand the mindset of the person I'm coaching? Because whatever your niche, that understanding can fundamentally change the depth of the work you're able to do and the level of impact that you're able to make. At the Mindset Coach Academy, we have a range of ICF-accredited coach certification programs that will equip you to coach with proven mindset tools and techniques so that you can become a truly transformational coach, no matter which niche you choose. I'll see you again. That wraps up today's episode of the Mindset Coach podcast. I hope you found it as inspiring and informative as I did. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow coaches. Your support helps us reach more people and continue to bring top-notch content every week. Remember, you can always learn more about our ICF and multi-accredited Mindset Coach certification program, our coaching membership, and other training opportunities by visiting mindsetcoachacademy.com. Thank you for tuning in and keep striving to become the best coach you can be. Until next time, this is Lara Young signing off. Stay motivated and keep transforming lives.